that it is said that it is possible, there is three kinds of gurus, and it is possible to find gurus who are Kanishtha Adhikari, also Madhyama Adhikari and Uttama Adhikari. So everyone, each of us wants to have the self-realized guru who is Uttama Adhikari, but still, actually, as much as I understood, we are taking guru who is inspiring us, and it could be anybody. I mean, it could be. We are not in the situation to understand if we are beginners, if guru is also not very realized, but he's somehow sympathetic or charming or whatever, who is doing preaching and so, like that. So my question is, if we get guru who is not really elevated, is it possible that he's still connecting us with Krishna and with Parampara? That we get certain advancement?
See, it's really a question of who is transcendentally situated and who is materially, theoretically situated. So now the question is, if we're beginning in spiritual life and we have the four defects of material consciousness, and we're still influenced by modes of material nature, we're still spiritually, deaf, dumb, and blind to that transcendental realm. So it's said that we are not the seers, rather we are to be seen. So we don't have the spiritual consciousness or qualification to really measure, who's really on what platform. Because someone might be very austere, they might be very charming, they might be very, like intellectually minded. They may have different qualities, they may have different abilities, they may be very logical, they might be very materially matured and sophisticated in their dealing with you. But all of that doesn't tell you that they're transcendentally situated or connected. And that's the most important aspect. Because one guru, he writes books on Shiksha Diksha. And he came to Bhubaneswar. And he's supposed to be like one of the experts within ISKCON about this topic, about Diksha Guru, Shiksha Guru. So he was making statement that the guru does not have to be liberated. He doesn't have to be on transcendental platform. But he can still be guru. So he's making this argument. And he's one of the premier experts in ISKCON. Now Srila Prabhupada says that if your hands are bound and tied, how can the bound untie somebody else? So therefore, the guru should be liberated. And Prabhupada says in Daivivanashram, in this verse where Krishna says, Mama Maya Dharataya, that this Maya is my Maya. So unless you surrender to Krishna, you cannot get free from the Maya. So in the purport, Prabhupada said, only Krishna or Krishna's bona fide authorized representative in Parampara can release us from Maya. So it's not really a question of us trying to analyze or measure who's who. It's a question of who Krishna will send to us, that by hearing from them, they can make us surrender to Krishna, not theoretically, but in a way that Krishna orders Maya to release you. That's the bottom line. So if Krishna and his representative, because many people say they're representing Krishna and they're a guru and they're this or that. Okay, that's fine. But you judge the thing by the results. So if they cannot purify, help us to surrender to Krishna, to purify our mind and senses, and to answer the questions in a way that is according to Guru, Sadhu, and Shastra, and destroy the doubts, then what is the point then of accepting someone as the Guru? So then we have to ask, well, what are we expecting that particular Guru to do? Or what effect can we expect from that particular personality? So Prabhupada says that only one who has a relationship with the Chetu Guru, Paramatma, and unless you're liberated and purified state of consciousness, you cannot have that kind of faith, intelligence, and dependence on Krishna as Paramatma Supersoul. Prabhupada said only that person can be a guru. So now how does conditioned soul know who has this kind of faith and dependence and relationship with Krishna as Supersoul Paramatma when that whole relationship and exchange is on a transcendental platform, when we are still somehow affected in a materialistic type of consciousness or platform? So it's impossible to understand. My Gurudev used to explain like this, that what we really need to see in that Guru are the three most important things that we need to understand in that Guru. We have no ability to understand it. And the first one was, how much faith does this person actually have in Krishna? Not theoretically, but actual factual faith. How do we measure that? And then the second one was, how surrendered is this person to Krishna? Internally, externally. How do we really measure that level of surrender that Krishna is accepting as his surrender? How do we measure that? And then the third thing that we need to understand is, what is this person's motivation? What is this in the heart of hearts? What is really driving and motivating this person to take this role as a spiritual master? So those three things we absolutely have to understand, but we have no qualification or measuring instrument within ourselves to understand it. So that's why Prabhupada said, if you just somehow or other convince Krishna that you want to surrender to him, and you want to serve him in a mood of loving devotion, then Krishna as witness and the judge of that, he'll know perfectly well. Because Krishna, my Gurudev used to say, Krishna knows who is his own man. We don't know who is Krishna's own man. Everybody's saying they're Krishna's man. Right? You're dressed sannyasi, you're dressed as a guru, you're quoting Shastra, you're taking disciples, you're managing temples. Everybody's saying they're Krishna's own man. But how do we actually factually know who really is Krishna's own man, when Prabhupada's also saying that there's so many cheaters, cheating gurus there? So how do we know who's cheating, who's not cheating? Right? Some things is very obvious to see, but a lot of the subtleties and the internal spiritual things that we need to understand, we have no ability to see without mercy from Krishna and from that sadhu, guru, Vaishnava. So this is a, what was the other point that I wanted, when you were talking, I was thinking that, so that Maharaj, I asked Maharaj, I said, Maharaj, you're saying the guru doesn't have to be liberated? And I said, if your disciple goes to you and asks you, what does Krishna want me to do? Where do you get your answer from in order to answer that disciple's sincere inquiry of what Krishna wants him to do? If you're not liberated, you're still affected under the modes of material nature. And he said, well, sometimes he gets it right. Sometimes he gets it right, and sometimes he doesn't. That was his answer. So sometimes he gets it right, and sometimes he doesn't. And when he doesn't get it right, you have no right to complain, because he was sincerely trying to help you. That was his answer. So when we want to know directly from Krishna what Krishna wants us to do as an act of surrender and service, only Krishna can say. We don't need to hear someone's opinion or this guru or that guru. We need to hear and be convinced, what does Krishna want? What is Krishna asking us to do? Now Krishna says, if you do what I want you to do, Krishna in the third chapter Bhagavad Gita, that surrender and that service will purify you, and it will liberate you, and it will free you from karma bandhana. It will free you from karma in the cycle of action and reaction. That's why we need to know. We don't need someone who's trying to help us and just speculating maybe better than us with some percentage that what he speculates may actually be coming from Maya. And then that activity which is not coming from Krishna, Krishna says that activity will contaminate your consciousness and degrade you and keep you in this cycle of karma bandhana. So that's why it's so important to define what are we trying to achieve, and then what is required in order to achieve that. That has to be very defined, because Prabhupada says a bona fide guru is pure via medium of Krishna. So if I ask my guru, and I understand my guru's pure via medium of Krishna, and I ask, can you please tell me, what does Krishna want me to do? I need to know definitively, specifically, what Krishna will order and instruct me, because otherwise that surrender will not be to him or for him. So how will you get released from Maya? Just doing something doesn't mean that it's coming from, it's not coming from Krishna, and ultimately Krishna is not receiving it. So without Krishna understanding who is Krishna's own man by the mercy of Guru and Krishna, there's no sambandha gyan, there's no actual connection with Krishna. So Prabhupada says that when Krishna sends you a bona fide guru and parampara, that is Krishna accepting you and your sincerity and your seriousness in this sambandha gyan. That is your connection to Krishna, is through that guru. Then he gives you this bhajana kriya, this abhideya, he gives you this general specific instructions by which we can go through this anartha nivritti stage of purification. So it's very scientific, and it doesn't mean that, people, we all have different types of shiksha gurus and different people who inspire us or who try to help us. And as long as there's reminding according to Guru, Sadhu and Shastra, right, that's all right. But when we want to absolutely know, we need a pure via medium, but we don't know who's pure via medium. That's the problem. So that's why instead of trying to figure out, okay, who's on what platform and who's actually a pure via medium of Krishna, because they're all saying that they're a guru and they're representative of Krishna. But that's not necessarily true. So how does conditioned soul know who is who, what is what? So without complete dependence on Krishna, internally, and being able to depend on Super Soul, Paramatma, Chetu Guru, Prabhupada says that Paramatma, Chetu Guru, Krishna, will give you intelligence and will dictate to you who you should accept as your Guru. So for us to just independently be trying to decide like who is my Guru, that's not our lookout. That's up to Krishna to determine, are we sincere and serious? Then Krishna, Paramatma, Chetu Guru will give you intelligence and dictate to you, you should accept this person as your Guru. If we're not serious, we're not really want to surrender, we're not as sincere as we think we are, then Krishna will remain mum, and then some influence mentally, sentimentally, or through some type of ecclesiastical pressure or social pressure will dictate to you, according to your liking, under the modes of material nature, to accept something else. So you asked a very sincere, deep question, and I'm trying to give you the best scientific, practical answer that I can to make it clear, because it's very confusing, because many people are saying many, many things. And especially if there are elders or they're senior devotees or they're preachers, or even if they're officially gurus, they're all presenting it in a much more kind of speculative, diverse way. Prabhupada said the Siddhanta, Bhakti Siddhanta, the Tattva Siddhanta is one. It's not even two. So how they're all arguing and presenting this Guru Sadhu Shastra, the Siddhanta, the Tattvas, according to all these, all these different types of variable ways of looking at it or thinking about it or presenting it, is proof that there's a lot of counterfeit money there. So if there's a lot of counterfeit money, it doesn't mean that there isn't any real money. So now it's a question of, okay, if you know that there are cheating gurus, there's different levels of gurus, and there's real gurus, now it's up to what do we deserve and what do we desire? That becomes the question. And then that's up to Krishna to determine our sincerity, our seriousness, what we desire, what we deserve. Then he'll determine whether he'll give you direct intelligence and faith, or whether he'll bewilder you through Maya, who's affecting the speculative, manufactured, self-made gurus who are actually controlled by Maya. That's the truth. And I'm coming, I had different gurus, Diksha Guru, Shiksha Guru, so I've gone through it all, through much of it. I've had to fight through and try to understand and pray and cry to Krishna and try to go deeper and deeper and deeper, like what is this, how is it working, why is it like this? So this is, close to 35 years of my going through that process that I'm sharing with you. And it's certainly not politically correct answer, because they want us to say that once you're a guru, they're all absolute and they're all more or less the same. Once you get over the absolute platform, then whatever differences or distinctions are there, that's all going on the absolute transcendental platform, and that's not our lookout. We'll commit offense if we try to understand those differences.